Go.
Good evening, voters in Palm Beach County. My name is Daniel Lustig, and I am the spokesperson and president of HISPAC, which stands for Hispanic Political Action Committee. This evening, we are conducting a candidate forum for the United States 21st Congressional District in Florida, which covers Palm Beach, an area of West Palm Beach, and extends south of East Delray Beach. The district also extends to the western communities, including Wellington, parts of Royal Palm Beach, West Boca, and West Boynton. Tonight, HISPAC will be asking questions to the incumbent Democrat candidate, Congresswoman Lois Frankel. I'd like to introduce the members of the HISPAC committee who will participate in asking questions from the candidates. We have Mr. Santos Arroyo, Mr. Juan Pagan, Mr. Samuel Roman, and myself. Without further ado, here are the rules of the forum.
Mr. Valentin Fontanes.
Mr. Valentin Fontanes is also present. We have 4 minutes to provide an opening statement and inform the voters of the district about who you are and what legislation you believe is important for the Hispanic business owners and Hispanics residing in your district. In your statement, I would like you to share with us what it is that you are doing as a representative of the people of this district to accomplish those legislative priorities. Thereafter, you will receive at least one question from each member of the committee, including questions from La Guia News, which will be brought to you and made by Mr. Samuel Roman on behalf of La Guia News. You have 2 minutes to answer each question. And Congresswoman, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you, HISPAC. First of all, just to tell you, first, I thank you for this forum, and to tell you I'm honored to serve this community in the United States Congress. And we all know that we live in unprecedented times, and I guess that's an understatement. Things are tough, and our leadership at the top, at the White House and the State House, is making it worse. More than 200,000 dead from COVID, millions out of work, and parents struggling to get their children back to school, and everyone back to some kind of normalcy. And this is probably no better time for someone to either serve the public or retire with a modicum of sanity. And I have chosen the former to continue my career because I believe I offer mature judgment, experience, the ability to stand up to power when necessary, and the willingness to find compromise where possible. And I still remain an optimist that our country, with its brilliant diversity, can find a way back from what I'm sure we will be remembered this 2020 as a very dark time in our nation's history. And life in South Florida is very personal for me. I have a 95-year-old mother, a son who served his country as a United States Marine, who owns a small business, his wife, and a beautiful grandson, all who call Palm Beach County home. And I want them and all our families to thrive in an economy that's vibrant, streets that are safe, and an environment that is sustainable, where healthcare is a right, not a privilege, and systemic racism a thing of the past. So where do we go from here? Number one, get COVID pandemic under control and get people and businesses the relief they need. And I've been working hard every day to try to do that with my Democratic caucus, where we have passed numerous relief packages and waiting for the Senate to compromise with us on a fourth. I believe that we need to expand healthcare so that's affordable, which includes lowering the cost of prescription drugs, and build our economy back by investing in small businesses and clean energy jobs. And we need to carry out police reform by banning things like chokehold and racial profile and improving training. And here in South Florida, there's probably nothing more important than protecting Medicare and Social Security so that our seniors can retire in dignity. And of course, combat climate change with smart policies and investments. I look forward to continuing my service in the Congress. I am on the Appropriations Committee, which funds the work of the federal government. That means I have a role in funding things like medical research, education, childcare, clean energy, job training, grants for small businesses, and Everglades restoration. And let me just conclude my opening statement by saying that I also believe that it's very important that we start emphasizing our common interests and not our differences.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We will start with questions, and we'll start with Mr. Santos Arroyo.
All right, Congresswoman, how do you and the members of Congress plan to help re-energize South Florida's economy based on the current COVID situation?
Yeah. Well, let me emphasize and state the first thing we have to do. We want to get people back to business. As I said, we want to get people back to work. We want to get our children back to school. The first thing we must do is get COVID under control, and that is having a national plan on contact tracing, on testing, making sure that we have funding for not only for testing, but for medical research and for the vaccines. And we have a plan to get them out to everyone once we have the scientific okay to go ahead. That's the most important thing we can do. However, you don't just do one thing at a time. Small businesses and workers need relief now, and Congress must pass a relief package as soon as possible, getting more money to our small businesses, continue funding the PPP program, and getting money directly into the pockets of people. They are the consumers who can spend money at businesses. And that's what we have to do right now.
One more question. Are you working on any initiatives to keep our children safe? For example, keeping them from getting involved in gangs or, from being abused at home, etc.
Being abused at home. Well, actually, I sit on probably one of the most important committees that has that as a mission. I am on the what's called the Labor Age Subcommittee of Appropriations, and we do the funding for child care, to prevent child abuse, for education, for job training. And so I help try to direct literally billions of dollars to those issues. Now, I do think it's important that we pass, you talk about child abuse and so forth, and children wanting to grow up in respectful neighborhoods. I was a mayor, so I know how important it is for us to be safe and how neighborhoods to be safe. And I want to say this: there wasn't one neighborhood in my city that did not want policing and did not want safety. With that said, we have to make sure that we do the work to reform our policing so that police are better trained and that racial profiling and chokeholds are banned.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question, Congresswoman. You discussed the issue of bringing money to businesses. We've taken some time to review the upcoming, obviously, general election, including candidate Biden's tax plan and how he's intending to raise taxes on those making $400,000 a year or more. How do you suppose that's going to affect small businesses and small business owners who employ multiple people in their business when there's going to be a tax hike that will increase exponentially their liability to the government by merely making $400,000 a year? When in South Florida, in your district, you have a lot of professionals who may fall into that category or just may fall just above that category, and now they're going to see a tax hike. What would you do in Congress if you're reelected to change that, or to at least advocate for a different structure?
Well, right now, the way the tax structure is situated, and when Trump got into office and with the Republicans, when they had both control, both the House and the Senate, they passed a 1.3 trillion tax bill that really only helped large corporations and the very, very wealthy. And so, you know, what Joe Biden wants to do is take some of this money. He said his tax plan, I don't know the details of his tax plan, but I am sympathetic to what he wants to do, because I can tell you this, I am not, you know, I represent people whether, no matter what their income is, but I can tell you most of my constituents don't even make close to $400,000 a year. And I have many, many constituents, waiters who've lost their jobs, hotel workers who've lost their jobs, housekeepers who've lost their jobs. And most of my constituents don't even make anything close to that. And I think it's important that when we invest the federal government money, we invest it in things that are going to help us keep the middle class and get people into the middle class. And that's making sure that people can, when we get through this pandemic, which I said is the first thing that we need to do, we need to make sure people can get back to work so that there is money, so they can have affordable, safe places to leave their children, that people have access to affordable quality health care, because if you are sick, you cannot work. And in terms of small businesses, we need to make sure that we can have a fair grant program so some of these small businesses who cannot get the kind of funding that some of the big corporations can get, that they get a fair shot at getting the resources so they can be successful.
I understand, I appreciate that, but most, you know, most of the economy in this district is made up of small businesses, you know,
Yes.
like my business,
Yes.
like other businesses that have, numerous employees that we have to obviously make sure that, you know, they keep their jobs, and we've done a great job.
Right.
We're one of the only, we're one of the few law firms in Palm Beach County that did not lay people off as a result of the pandemic. And we kept people employed, and we wanted to make sure that, you know, people had their health insurance and their jobs. So, you know, my question to you is, what, you know, would you commit, or would you at least, you know, tell your constituents that you would advocate to make this tax brackets more fair for people that will just fall on that cusp, and then would have to see a huge tax increase from what they've saw before, so that, you know, they feel comfortable that you as their representative will do whatever it is that you can do to keep people that make just $400,000 or just above $400,000 from paying a substantial amount of more money in taxes.
I'm so sorry, Daniel, that I'm not for you. I'm not the one you should vote for if you think I'm going to Congress just to safeguard the people who make more than $400,000. I'm just, here's what I think. I'm going to use mature judgment. I'm going to use common sense. I want the taxing system to be fair. I want it to be one that will bring vibrance to our community, not to hurt our community. But I am telling you, you're looking at somebody who fights for the middle class, for the ordinary man and woman, most who don't even make anything close to that. I mean, in my district, the average income is maybe $50,000 a year. And people are not making that now because literally thousands and thousands are out of work. And so I care about the housekeeper who's making less than minimum wage, the waiters and waitresses when they go back, the store clerks, they don't make anything like that. And what I'm going to fight for is to make sure, especially now that so many have lost their jobs and their insurance that's related to their jobs, that they're going to have access to the health care that all people deserve. And that's what I'm fighting for. And let me just say it straight out, Daniel, don't look at me to be the one that fights to save the tax reform for people over $400,000. I'm just telling you like it is.
I appreciate that. Next, Mr. Juan Pagan. You're muted.
Yeah. Hi, Congresswoman Goldstein. How you doing? Great. One of the questions that I have, you know, when we look at the population in Palm Beach County, I've been a resident of Palm Beach County for over 30 years, you know, and I remember when you were a mayor downtown. in West Palm Beach. So time flies, right? We don't get any older, we just get younger with the time. And one of the things is when I moved here, the Hispanic population was barely 10%. Now when we look, we work very close with the Census 2020 people in Atlanta. And the projections are that for Palm Beach County, the Hispanic population is going to jump to 30–40%, for the Census 2020. At the same time, we see that evidence already when you look at the student body of the school district of Palm Beach County. The biggest minority is Hispanic, right now, much higher than the African Americans, much higher than any other group in there. So the whole thing is how are we going to make sure, because at the same time, you're going to see, looking at those students, that probably 30% of the parents of those kids, they are undocumented.
Yeah.
And they live here,
Right.
and about 60% of the parents of those kids, they don't speak English,
Right.
and so the whole, how are we going to help that population integrate into the community and help them be able to attain? Because at the same time, when you look at the budget of places like the county, budget of the school district for business, diversity, etc., there's a lot of small business that are Hispanic business, but because they don't have domain of the language and the materials on the website is not available in Spanish or Creole, for that matter, they cannot access or they cannot get certified. So how are we going to help the population? Because at the end, is how do we help these people, get a job, get a contract? Because we're talking millions and millions of dollars that are available.
Well, first of all, thank you, Juan, for that question. And so the answer is a little complicated. I'm going to go into it. Number one, I'm going to just look at the politics of it. I believe that one of the great blessings of our country is our diversity. Listen, my grandfather came over here from Eastern Europe. He could not speak English. His first job was that as an egg handler. You know what an egg handler is? He would put an egg up to a light to see if there was a chick. That's what his first job. Let me tell you something. Our president wouldn't let him into this country today. And the first thing we have to do is change the leadership from the top so that we have a president who embraces our diversity, doesn't lock little Hispanic kids up in a cage and separating them from their parents. That's wrong, and that's immoral. So that's the first thing we have to do. But there's a lot more. We need to have a comprehensive immigration reform that recognizes that we have more than 11 million people here who are undocumented. And you know what? Most of them are very, very, very valuable parts of our community. And they are working and they are paying taxes. And we've got to find a way for them to have a path to citizenship. That is very, very important. That doesn't mean that we don't have laws or rules. Yes, we have to have laws and rules, but we have to be realistic that we have all these people here who need to have a way to become citizens. We have to take care of our dreamers, so they're not living in fear of going back to a country they've never even been to. Or I mean, not going back, going to a country they've never been to. So that's that. And then of course, investing in education for our children is very, very important. Access to good quality childcare so kids can get off to a good start. And let me get back to the COVID crisis again, making sure that we have community outreach that is very diverse, that you have workers who are speaking the language of the people they're trying to communicate to, and communications in the language of the people you're trying to communicate to. There's a lot of work that we need to do, but I'm going to tell you right now, Juan, we need a change of attitude at the top, where we have a president who loves all our people, not just people who looks like himself.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Mr. Sam Roman.
Yes. Hi, Congresswoman Frankel. How are you?
Good, Sam.
Can you at least, one of the purpose of this committee is to inform the Hispanic community about voting and at least give them some guidance on some of the candidates so they get to know the candidates that are running for different positions, not only locally, but like yourself for Congress, running for re-election. And we know that you do have the name recognition because of being a mayor for many years and you've been in office for quite a bit. But representing La Guia News also, which has the same purpose of, in a way, of informing the Hispanic community about different issues and topics. And not only La Guia News, but there's also other tools and other channels of communication. That way that you could communicate your platform to the community, to the Hispanic community. Can you at least tell us one of those avenues that you have used on your campaign to inform the Hispanic community?
Well, I could tell you, I don't run my own media, but I know that we are on network TV, cable TV, and we do a lot of social media outreach. I'd let a younger person do that, but I could find out exactly where that's going on. I have to confess, I am pretty ignorant about that.
You know, and it's something that has happened not only in your campaign, but in other campaigns, that the Hispanic community is being felt left out. You know, we are not being taken seriously. There's a lot of candidates that are not, for some reason or another, not taking the effort to reach out to the Hispanic community. And that's the reason for my questioning. I did my homework and I have not seen anything from your campaign with regard to the Hispanic community.
Okay, well, Felicia, who's running my campaign, is shaking her head. I probably should know more about my social media, but I don't know. Well, Felicia, can you help us out?
Yeah, we text. That's one of our main menus of getting information out. And we have been texting in Spanish to those households that have at least one or more people who speak fluent Spanish as their first language in our district. And I know that on our Congressional resources page for COVID, that we have much of the information from SBA and other resources that have been translated in Spanish as well. And we also have 3 people, one with the campaign and 2 full-time staffers who are fluent in Spanish and are always ready to help translate anything if need be and to get the information to the people in our district who need that.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. And then we have Pastor Valentin Fontanes. Pastor, you're muted right now. Do you have a question for the Congresswoman? Santos, can you unmute him, please?
Pastor Valentín.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any more questions for the Congresswoman?
¿Te ves? ¿Te oye?
Oh, there you go, Mr. Okay, there you go. Pastor?
Pastor, ¿tienes alguna pregunta que le quieras hacer a congresista Goldstein? Uh-huh.
So Pastor Valentin, he is a member of HISPAC, and he's also one of the leaders of one of the Hispanic churches in Palm Beach County. So he represents or provides guidance to a large number of congregants that attend services in Palm Beach County, many of whom are.
Okay, now preguntarle.
Say again?
Okay, yeah, the question he's asking is what kind of plans or maybe objective you have to help those individuals who we were talking about being undocumented, you know, to make that transition for them to become residents legally
Yes.
in the country.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. You know, we need to have immigration reform that, as I said before, that has a path to citizenship for people who are undocumented. We need to keep families together. We need to keep people who are obeying the law and who are working able to pay their taxes. And we need to make sure that our dreamers feel secure and also have a path to citizenship. It's going to take a new president of the United States to do that. But I can tell you, as a member of the Congress, I will be voting for, as I have before, any reasonable steps to making that happen. And I think, let me just add, I think it'll be a great thing for this country.
Now, Congresswoman, I have known you for years because of my practice in Palm Beach County. And you have actually helped my own, some of my own clients individually who are Hispanics and who needed to travel abroad for a reason, one reason or another. So I want to thank you for that, because you actually stepped up and did what you needed to do as the representative of the people. So, you know, our invitation to the forum obviously is to ask tough questions to every candidate. So I hope you appreciate that. But I can tell you that based on personal experience, I have seen what you have done for the people in the community, and I'm very grateful for that access that you have provided.
Well, thank you, Daniel. But that's because I have a great team. And you know what? Anybody who is in office, you're not there by yourself. You've met Felicia tonight, who's part of the team. But we have a wonderful team here locally and in Washington. They work around the clock, even though it's virtual right now. And I'm very, very proud of them. And Daniel, no hard feelings. I hope all the people listen, I hope everybody can eventually make $400,000 a year, but I'm going to work. But listen, I am going to work hard for everybody here, regardless of what they earn, and really work hard to make sure that people have livable wages, so they can have a decent life and take care of themselves and have access to the health care that they deserve. That's what I'm going to fight for.
Pastor Valentin has another question.
Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about as we know, Florida, you have a very high population of elderly people, and obviously, when they live with their family, some of them still live with their son, their brother, whatever, but those people need to get out and work too. So, and these people have limited resources. How are they going to help this elderly family member, to be in daycare or to be in a nursing home or to be, how do you have any plans to be able to help those people to take care of the elders that they're in their family?
Oh, okay. All right. Let me just repeat the question, make sure I understand it. Is that what can we do so that working people, we're in what they call the sandwich generation. You have to take care of the little ones and you have elderly parents. I understand that. I have a 95-year-old mother that lives here in the same building where I am. And I, especially with the pandemic, our older parents, they're like recluse and they're so dependent on other people to, get them their groceries or help get them to a doctor or whatever. So I think there's a lot of things we can do in terms of the child care. This pandemic has almost devastated the child care industry. It is going to literally take billions and billions of dollars to get it back on its feet. But I'm ready to, and I have actually voted in Congress already, in the House, and we passed legislation to pump literally billions of dollars into the child care industry, because how are parents going to go to work if they don't have if they don't have affordable childcare for their children. And the same thing goes in terms of the elderly. And let me tell you something else. I don't know who asked the question. Valentine asked the question, I think. I just sponsored legislation actually called Healthy Aging legislation, specifically right now to help seniors get through this pandemic, to make sure that we have the resources necessary for the families and for the elders to make sure we get them through this pandemic.
Thank you. If we have no further questions, Congresswoman, would you like to provide a closing
I
statement?
think, you know what, this has been a very exciting evening. And I thank you for all your very good questions. And more importantly, I thank you so much for your interest in this election, because, you know, I tell people this is literally a life or death election, because so many lives are at stake. And I just hope anyone who's listening to this, regardless of what your side, your party, your candidate, go out and vote, because, you know, when you think about our democracy, one of the great equalizers of the democracy is everybody gets one vote. So don't squander your opportunity. Please do that. It's been an honor to represent you in Congress, and I ask everyone for their support. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Don't forget that mask when you go out, and wash your hands.
Thank you.
Take care.
Gracias.
Gracias. Thank you.